Troy Photo says, I've worked with a D-list celebrity as part of his event crew as a photographer and helper. We had some interesting rules and or roles to fill. For example, we had to be the bad guys and end any discussion that went too long or off the rails. What kind of rules and roles do you have for your event helpers? And do your fans ever get frisky and grab your bun or such? Parens, did they grab your bum or such? Parens, that happened more than I expected. Okay, we're going to talk. When you are a celebrity, people are, in general, excited and activated to meet you. There's a lot going on in their heads, and they've been thinking about what they want to say to you, or, I mean, it doesn't even matter if they really like you or they really don't like you, but just like seeing you in person can have an effect on people. And that means it can actually be difficult to communicate with them. There's been times I've run into fans on the street and I've been in like a talkative mood and I've been like, where are you guys from? And they like, there's been times that they almost can't hear me. And I'm not making any aspersions here, casting aspersions. I really understand that, like, because I've had it happen to me. I have definitely had people that when I met them, the blood was pounding in my ears because I could not believe that I was getting to meet this person. Steven Spielberg was one. Robin Williams was another, the first time we met. So when you have to extricate or say no to a fan, it can go in many different directions. It can go great, it can go poorly. So in general, as far as I can tell, almost every person who dabbles in the fame lets their people be the bad guys. That's just a sort of a standard, that's a standard thing. You let your people be the bad guys. They say no for you. They grab you. They pull you out of a situation. And I totally do that. The folks that I generally work with know exactly when an interaction is going on too long. They can tell from, what's happening, and they'll extricate. And, this isn't like, for the most part, it's almost never a big deal, really, truly. This is just more like being efficient. But I want to tell you a couple stories. One was my producer, Alice Dallow, who produced me on Mythbusters for the majority of my tenure there on the show, had this wonderful thing, which was when people came up and asked for a photo, Alice would say, yes, give me your phone. And she would take their camera and she would take the photo. And her axiom was, when you're holding the phone, you're controlling the length of the interaction. Because imagine you're a famous person and someone says, hey, can I take a picture of you? And you say, with you? And you say, yeah. And they take a picture with you. And then they go, yeah, let me just check it out. Oh, maybe we could do another one. And all of a sudden, you're like servicing this person's desires and you have nothing to do with this interaction. I don't like that position. I don't like being in that position. So taking the phone is controlling the length of the interaction. This is real inside baseball. The other one that sometimes fans will try this one, and again, I'm not casting aspersions. They will see you at a dinner or out in public, and they don't want to disturb you. They see you're talking with friends and having a conversation, but they really want a photo. And I've had a couple of times where people say, I just would love to get a photo with you later. It doesn't have to happen right now, just a little later. Later doesn't work. Later, all of a sudden, puts the impetus on me to go find you. I don't want that kind of interaction. If we're going to take a photo, we're going to take a photo right now. Lastly, you said, do fans ever get frisky and grab your bum or such? I have only had my bum grabbed once. It was, I won't describe the circumstances, but it was a small woman. She was like 5 feet tall. And she came into a thing that I was doing and she was like, can we take a pic? And I said, absolutely. And she handed her phone to a friend. And then she reached down behind me and grabbed an entire butt cheek, like full grab. I was shocked. I have never had anybody grab me like that. I mean, I've had people grab my shoulders in the airport and spin me around and stuff like that. That's also super unpleasant. Don't touch anybody unless they know you're going to touch them seriously. But that's the only time I had my butt grabbed. And because she was short, so I'm here and she's here, I brought my head in line with her head, and that immediately put my butt out of reach of her little arms. So I solved that problem. But that's the funny part of this story. Do you remember a few years ago when Taylor Swift sued that radio DJ for groping her? And she sued him for $1 because she wanted to make it clear it was not about the money, it was about the violation. You might have an opinion in your head about whether or not that actually happened. What I want to tell you is that every woman I have ever met of any kind of fame has had that happen to her constantly, repeatedly, over and over and over again. So if you are a dude taking a picture with a woman and you think it's okay to grab her, you're a jerk. A jerk is the nicest term I can come up with on this stream I don't feel like cursing on. You're a piece of garbage. Every woman I know who is mildly famous has been groped in a photo opportunity. So yeah, I'm mad. I'm mad about it. I'm mad every time it comes up in my head. It's just like, what the hell, people? This is why we can't have nice things. Shadowfax says, after 15 odd years together, my partner and I got married a few days ago. Congratulations. It was a beautiful and very private ceremony, and we're both over the moon that we get to continue our journey together. That's the best description of the reason to get married that I can think of. I'm wondering if you had any words of wisdom from your own life and marriage that you'd be willing to share for newlyweds out there. You're newlyweds. Sure, I guess technically you are newlyweds. There's so much you could say about this. Over COVID, we were alone in the house for long, long periods of time. And there was a certain point at which my wife and I were having an interaction, and I could see she was pissed off at me about this interaction. But then I watched her slot out of being pissed at me and just throw it away. And what I saw that she was doing was she was internally raising the water level of what she cared enough to discuss. Because we're in lockdown. We gotta marshal our forces. We're in this. This is a crisis. We didn't know how long that was gonna last. And so I watched her raise the water level of what mattered. And I thought, as her partner, I need to do exactly the same. And it is a really, just from a relationship standpoint, it is great to do across the board, raising the water level of what you give a crap about. One of the secrets to a long-term relationship, whether romantic or not, is the words "I'm sorry." Almost nothing within a dynamic between two people happens solely because of one person. Now, I recognize there are all sorts of different modalities, but let's talk two reasonably mentally healthy people in a normal relationship and say that almost every difficulty they're going to have is going to be the result of a dynamic between them, not something one person did and the other responded to. And in those regards, you are always complicit in some major or minor way. And I'm sorry is the fastest way to explain that this is unintentional. There's one that came about 10 years ago. So I will also say, as a partner, I have not always done my share of the housework. Back when I was making Mythbusters, I absolutely didn't. I was bringing in the majority of the dough, and I thought that was totally reasonable. And I have come now in my latter 50s to not feel that's very reasonable, and I do easily half the housework. I've been doing on the laundry for the last 3 years just because my wife was like, after all this life of doing laundry, I don't want to look at laundry anymore. And I'm like, that's okay. I'll take over the laundry. I know that some people split their partnership on who's bringing in more and who does more housework. And those are, again, those are fine ways to operate. I feel like being a partner to me is being a full participant in what I think of as operating the levers of our lives. And housework and garbage and laundry and all that stuff is all part of that. Within that framework, this came across to my partner in some professional capacity of just saying thank you to each other. Like this was a recommendation for couples. And we started to do it. And so let me just describe the exact situation. It's like I'll come into the house knowing that I ran the dishwasher that morning, and I'll come home and find it emptied. And I'll say, thanks for emptying the dishwasher. And I'll take out the trash on Sunday night, and she'll say, thanks for taking out the trash. This sounds weird. And if you're the one doing less of the housework, it feels really weird the first couple of times you do it. But that's it. It only feels weird the first 2 or 3 times you do it. After that, building in just that regular, thanks for doing that, you're welcome. Thanks for doing that, you're welcome. Between each other is so spectacular in terms of keeping in touch with each other, again, about the levers of your lives and how things are getting managed and taken care of. Those are some of my words of wisdom for life and marriage. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I wanted to briefly mention that you could become a tested member. I know, everybody is competing for you to become a member of their thing. What I want to express to you is that the Tested membership has become such an important part of the Tested family. We get tremendous feedback from the Tested members, and they expand the stories that we can tell and the things that we have access to. And you can become a part of it right now by clicking on the link below. See you in the chat.